Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. Hair-based discrimination is now against the law in Pennsylvania. It's nice to see Democrats finally tackling the big issues. Governor Josh Shapiro signed the new law earlier this week that prohibits discrimination based on hair texture and protective hairstyles historically associated with race.
Human Relations Commission. The same would happen for our bill because now hair discrimination is part of the protected class of race, which is in the PA Human Relations Act. So they could call their statewide Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, and there are also satellite offices all across the state.
Great. So now in Pennsylvania, a bad hair day is considered a hate crime. The UK might get rid of juries. So trial by your peers is now trial by a guy in a wig who already hates you. Justice Secretary David Lammy is pushing a change that would strip thousands of defendants of their right to be tried by a jury. The proposal would reserve jury trials for only the most serious crimes or for cases that pass a narrow public interest test. So basically, you only get a jury if your case is interesting enough. It's like America's Got Talent, but for felonies. The change would send most cases to new judge-only courts. This would remove jurors from the vast majority of offenses that currently go before a Crown Court, which they say is necessary to ease overwhelming backlogs. This is like fixing a long line at Taco Bell by firing the cashier. Next week, they're getting rid of elections because they're also too time-consuming. There's a new pandemic, whiteness. At least according to the University of Minnesota. Symptoms include paying taxes, mowing your lawn, and showing up to work on time. They're offering whiteness pandemic resources to caregivers as a way to re-educate themselves and guide children. Here's a professor from the University of Minnesota to help explain it.
We posit that there is a whiteness pandemic behind the racism pandemic, and that this begins in the family system where young children are socialized into the culture of whiteness within white families. Our first recommendation is to remember that the whiteness pandemic is a pandemic. If you were born and raised in the United States, especially in a white family, then you've been raised in the pandemic.
I will say this about the University of Minnesota. As far as racism goes, they are clearly experts. Guess which politicians Trump compared the turkeys to? Earlier this week, President Trump hosted the annual turkey pardon at the White House, and he said this.
The turkeys being pardoned today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, I shouldn't say this. I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those two people. I wouldn't pardon them. I wouldn't care what Melania told me.
Let's be real. The turkey waddle is what made President Trump think of Nancy. Although they are similar, the turkey's waddle is red from nature, while Nancy's is red from rage and 3 shots of Jaeger she calls a warm-up. And now onto the comment section. So the first segment is the one we did about the judge who overturned that jury verdict on the $7.2 million Medicaid fraud case. So we have a couple of fun ones first and then a more serious comment. But here's a picture of the judge because that's what the first 2 comments are about. First comment is from Clyde Plummer, 7004. That judge looks like she's late for her Girl Scout meeting. And then another one that made me laugh was this from Tony Wheeldon, 1466. An activist leftist Democrat judge overturned a jury verdict. Or did she just miss her school bus? You guys, when I saw her picture, I thought the same thing. I thought, she looks like she's 14. How can she possibly be a judge deciding a case like that? I mean, I don't even know if I would let her run a lemonade stand. Would you look at her? Because I would just be worried. Anyway, yeah. So there she is. Okay, and more of a substantive comment. This is from Lassa Lorene 1. Wow, I hope that case will be appealed. And it actually has been appealed. This is from Appealed. Appealed is not a word. appealed is. So this is from that same article that I used yesterday. So it says in that article, the Attorney General's office has filed an appeal. And I think that was on Monday when they filed the appeal. So hopefully, I hope that on appeal that judge gets reversed, because to have her just say, no, the jury verdict was wrong, that's completely insane. I mean, and then the jury, you heard that the spokesman talk about how this was an easy case. I mean, the evidence was overwhelming. They were shocked that the judge would do that. And I think the judge's reasoning was that there could have been another explanation for something. What? That's insane. Okay, now on to the segment we did about James Comey. We talked about how with the statute of limitations, it's questionable on if they could still, I mean, if that original case, that original claim goes away, if we can't get Comey anymore, or what's going to happen because of the statute of limitations with respect to the charges he currently has. So we have this comment from Douglas Markison, 8529. Statute of limitations is non-existent if it can be proved that this was a treasonous conspiracy. Is that not correct? So let's look at that. That is correct with respect to treason. So if we look up, this is in U.S. Code Title 18, and this is treason, Section 2381. So we can see here, we'll just read briefly what the statute says about treason. Whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death or shall be imprisoned not less than. So the important part there is the death part. So that makes that a capital offense. Now, if you look at, to tie in the statute of limitations issue that we're looking at, if you look at 18 U.S. Code 3281 with capital offenses, it says an indictment for any offense punishable by death may be found at any time without limitation. So that you are correct. Let's see, Douglas. Yeah, you're correct about that. If you can get him for treason, there is no statute of limitations. And we've read through the statutes that actually lay that out. So, but I think if we could have gotten Comey for treason, I think they probably would have charged him with that already. I'm not saying they might not try, but I do think treason would be, that's definitely a much stricter set of circumstances to try to prove. And so I think that would be a tough one to try to get him on treason. Not that Comey's a scumbag. He absolutely was treasonous, trying to undermine the President of the United States. It was terrible. So, but as far as reading that statute, I'm not sure if that would be one that the Justice Department thinks they could actually get to fly. But anyway, and actually, reading that statute, it made me wonder, now if you had a leftist judge, super progressive, and there was a conservative they were trying to charge with that, I could totally see them reading that saying like, sure, they were helping an enemy and giving them aid. And if you look at the Russia collusion hoax, I almost thought, do you think that those people who perpetrated that whole thing were trying to set President Trump up for some sort of treason claim by saying, oh, well, it was Russia and he was helping them? I mean, we all know it was completely false and a hoax. But I just wondered, the people who architected that thing in the first place were thinking at all about, well, according to the treason statute, an enemy, that would be Russia, and if he's aiding them or helping them, I don't know. Anyway, but as far as Comey goes, you are right. The statute of limitations is out the window if we could actually get him on treason, but that would be a tough one. Okay, thank you so much for watching Headlines. I do want to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. For those of you in the United States, eat as much as you want. And if you need to, undo your belt so you can just get a little bit more room in there. All right, thank you for watching Headlines. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.